This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Hey, yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey, yeah, ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video podcast. Talk about our favorite team. Do me a huge favor, smack up the like button. Do it for the algorithm. Right now, we are chilling with one small like. So go and smack it up here, and we are going to have a good, fun-filled show for you today. We got my guy Mythic AZ coming in here. We're going to be chopping it up about the Arizona Cardinals preseason and everything above. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in here as always. Another huge shout out here to BetUS, the sponsor of the Arizona Sports Fan. That's going to be the sponsor of the entire season. If you're looking for a brand new sports book, BetUS is the way to go. Currently, right now, they do got a promotion sign-up bonus for 125% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits, and they got the fastest payouts in the industry. So let's dive right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and talk some Arizona Cardinals, shall we? All right. Mythic, as always, I appreciate you for joining me. Let's chop it up, man. How are you doing? Just first things first.
Doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, man. Good. You know, got two preseason games under our belt. That's going to be the majority of what we're going to be talking about today, pertaining to just preseason, how you feel about it. Are you worried, right? We're going to be diving into all that here today. So let's get started. Preseason. Got 2 games under our belt. What are your thoughts right now, preseason, for the Arizona Cardinals?
I'm not really worried. The only thing I'd necessarily say I'm kind of worried about would be penalties. Penalties have been crazy. 11 penalties yesterday, or what was it, Saturday? 11 penalties is like unacceptable, no matter if it's second, third string. We had a drive where Christian Jones had 4 in a row. 1 was declined, but 3 in a row technically. That's just unacceptable. Like, you got to play disciplined football. That's like my only worry. But being 0-2, it's preseason. We're not playing any starters. No worries here necessarily, but, you know, cause for concern for penalties, the discipline. I don't know if that's going to carry over, but we got to correct that.
Yeah, no, the penalties will definitely hurt any drive for the Cardinals. And yeah, we saw like back to back, I believe, of penalties on Christian Jones, which is a rookie. I believe he was playing left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals. But man, we've seen a plethora of them, and we are hoping that it gets cleaned up. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of worried when it comes down to the trenches, primarily in the edge. Because as of right now, we still haven't truly addressed it. And obviously, we're going to be diving into that a little later on. But yeah, we had 11 penalties for 82 yards compared to the Colts, 3 penalties for 28 yards. So take that as you will. But what are your thoughts here on the Arizona Cardinals? I don't think we care about the losing, right? That happens. But what are your thoughts on, I guess, the players that you felt like really stood out in both these preseason games?
So I'll break it down. So Xavier Thomas, obviously somebody who's had a sack in both game, and he's causing pressure. We weren't able to bring the quarterback down last game, and that was kind of like an entirety thing. It wasn't just Xavier Thomas. Like, Cam Thomas got in the backfield, created pressure. Xavier Thomas, another Thomas, the Thomas brothers, I guess, even though they look nothing alike. Who else was back there? Victor Dimakiji was back there. Like, we had a ton of pressure. We just were not able to bring him down. So I'd say our edges have actually stood out. Now, this is against backup linemen, and these are guys that might actually see rotation. So that's a little concerning because we don't know how they're going to perform. But they have stood out to me. Dadrian Taylor Demerson is probably the best defensive player that I have seen on defense so far. He's making impact. He's wrapping up tackles in the backfield. He's stopping plays if it gets to the third level. Like, he's just doing it all. And then he had that nasty pick, too. Don't know how he came down with that. I really don't. Like, running full speed into that, going to the sideline, snagging it, staying in bound, dragging the feet, crazy body control. I'd say defense has stood out a lot. Clayton Tune has been pretty solid as well. I don't know if there's many offensive stars or anybody who's really shined. Trey Benson had a good last game, but the first one was rough, so it looks like the jitters are gone. But offensively, I'm not really impressed by anything. Offensive line is terrible. I'd say defense has stood out a lot more. Like you also have Owen Popo and Chris Barnes who look good in the first game too. So like just defense is the only thing that's really standing out to me. Offensively, nothing's really doing it for
Not
me.
really much. So just to confirm here, it seems like looking at the stats, Cameron Thomas did have 2 sacks against the Colts. It seemed like it's LJ Collier, which I believe is going to be a starter. He got a sack as well, and then Xavier Thomas did get a sack as well. So we got a total of 4 sacks on the Colts, which is pretty cool. But it's so hard to really kind of determine if the Cardinals are going to be for real because like we just not so much for real, but like seeing what type of team we are, right? Because we're kind of getting just a glimpse, just a little taste of what the Cardinals football is going to be in 2024. But like none of these guys, I mean, with the exception of LJ Collier, are probably going to be just, bona fide starters. So it's really tough to say. But yeah, I could agree with you. I think the offense, I don't know, there's a level of, I don't know. I wouldn't say worrisome because, like I said before, right? Well, we seen Chris Moore. We saw Marvin Harrison Jr. for 1 drive and literally was a 3-and-out. But the offense so far has not really gave me something to be super excited about. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, granted, a lot of starters aren't playing, but like our best receiving weapon was Andre Bocelli and Xavier Weaver, which I have a lot of high hopes and a lot of high praises for Xavier Weaver. And it seems like people are now starting to kind of get on that train as well with Xavier Weaver being the undrafted guy that we brought in this last draft. But two receptions for 27 yards. That's rough. And then the Colts on the other side, I believe it was Laquan Treadwell. He had like 70 yards, 73 yards if I'm to be exact. So like it's a big difference. It's a big difference, and I really want this offense to get going, to kind of see a level of, I don't know, just showing us what we can potentially see. Just the type of offense. Obviously, they're different players, but I don't know. I could agree with you there. I think Trey Benson is probably the lone star when it comes down to it on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to ask you a very easy question here. Do you think it's going to be Tune over Ritter in the 53?
I think it has to be. I mean, this third game kind of deters it because Clayton Tune is basically in the matchup that they have. I'd say Clayton Tune is 2-0.
Yeah.
So even if Desmond Ritter, if it's another competitive bout, like I don't even know if the last game was competitive because Desmond Ritter looked horrible up until the final drive when they were basically playing prevent. So he was just taking check down. He was like 4 for 7, I think, and he finished like 6 for 10. So there was a couple completions towards the end, but through the rest of the game, he did not look good. The ball was not moving. You just got to take that into account. Clayton Tune, kind of the same thing. He got the drive going towards the back end, but it wasn't prevent defense. Like, we can't let you score a touchdown. Clayton Tune rushed it in for a touchdown. Capitalized at the end of the half. So I would say he has the edge, and it's not really close. Desmond Ritter does a lot of things that I'm not a fan of.
Right. Do you think that... So I just did a predicting the 53-man roster, and obviously any of these can go any which way, and even when the 53-man roster is solidified next Tuesday, there's still going to be changes. So, like, but my question to you is, do you think the Cardinals will carry 3 quarterbacks, or do you think they'll carry 2? And the reason why I ask is because that spot can determine if, let's say, for example, Michael Carter could make the cut, potentially somebody else that you really like can make the cut. So, like, do you think 3 quarterbacks is probably what's going to happen for the Cardinals?
It might. Yeah. It actually might. It's kind of trending that way, but I mean, Tune is better than Ritter. So whether like rosterly they keep him, depth chart wise, it should be Tune Ritter, but keeping 3, I think it's kind of hard for them to part ways with Ritter because he's so new into everything. This is Clayton Tune's 2nd year, and they've seen him actually get experience. And if Kyler goes down, then it's Tune and who else?
True.
So I could imagine them wanting to roster 3 and like, hey, we just traded Rondo Moore for this guy. Let's at least keep him for a season, see what happens. Yeah. Let's not let him just go wherever.
I think I agree with you. On my predicted 53, I would think it's more ideal to take 2, but I think deep down what's going to happen is going to be 3 for that very reason. Because you don't know. I think the experience with Desmond Ritter, it outweighs how bad he looked in this preseason because the experience of what he has, and you're right. The can Kyler Murray stay healthy for a full year, or does he need to miss a game or 2? It's going to be very important to potentially have a backup to Clay, because you never know, right? What if Clayton gets hurt and he gets nicked up, right? So then where do we go there? You put Matt Prater in, it just doesn't work like that. So I think it is going to be three QBs personally. I would rather it be two, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, Kyler's going to be healthy. But at the end of the day, I think insurance is probably going to be it's probably what's going to happen. What do you think? What do you think about the running back core right now? It's so interesting. You can go any which way. The running back core right now is probably one of the most intriguing things on the offensive side of the ball. How do you think it's going to shake out? We saw a lot of Amari DiMarco this last game, and Trey Benson. We saw a little shine of Michael Carter. What are your thoughts on that?
How do I think it's going to pan out versus how I want it to pan out are kind of different, because DJ Dallas actually did really well on special teams.
Yeah.
So there's a chance he actually gets rostered. I think Amari DiMarco is going to make it. So I think they're going to roster 4. But the bubble is going to be Michael Carter and DJ Dallas, unfortunately. And I think it's going to be James Conner, Trey Benson, Amari DiMarco, bubble spot for Carter Dallas. And if I had to roster it, it would be Conner, Benson, Carter, DiMarco. That's the 4 I would have in that spot, ranking wise. Conner starting, Benson could also sub in for short yard situations, secondary running back. He would be the next up to get touches. If you need passing, third down situation, it would be Michael Carter. And then Amari DiMarco is just like insurance. But
so you think it's 4 running backs?
I would roster 4.
Roster 4? I think if it comes down to DJ Dallas or Michael Carter, don't you think DJ Dallas has a little bit of an edge because of special teams?
That's the thing. I mean, it's tough because we also saw Zach Pascal on special teams too. So if he gets rostered, would that flip-flop? Because Greg Dortch is the return man. I mean, if Greg Dortch is the return man and that's what they're rocking with, because he was listed on the depth chart as the one, but the ones weren't playing. So if Greg Dortch is ultimately that guy, I'd be confident just having Zach Pascal on special teams and just rocking with that. I don't think DJ Dallas necessarily needs to be
or Xavier
that
Weaver.
big an asset.
Or Weaver.
Weaver could. I mean, the thing is, Pascal's a big body. Weaver on special teams doesn't really make a lot of sense.
True.
Because Zach Pascal can go hit somebody. I mean, he made a tackle on special teams last game. So there's a chance. But
we
I don't know.
Weaver
DJ Dallas.
Was it punt return or kick return? Weaver took a couple. He took one. Was it a punt return, right?
I think so.
I think so too, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of those two, but I know he was in special team. He actually returned it. So, I mean, if the Cardinals see something in him, he could potentially be that guy, and maybe DJ Dallas does get the cut. It's just, it would be hard for me to remove Michael Carter because I really like the skill set that he brings. I really like the skill set that he brings to this running back core. Do you agree how just different he is?
He's good for pass game, too. Yeah. Like, he runs differently than everybody. Like, I feel like Amari DiMarco, James Conner, Trey Benson also have very similar skill sets in what they bring. I think DiMarco is kind of the worst of the bunch, but I feel like they all have very similar tendencies, traits, the way they run the football. Michael Carter's a smaller running back. He's someone who's good in the pass game, too, can catch. I mean, DJ Dallas can do that, too, but he's kind of just the shifty – I don't even know how to explain it. Shifty, quick. You can sub him in on 3rd and long or whatever, and he can pass protect, not very well, but you need him to go run a route. He has a chance of getting open and making a 3rd and 8 a first down. There's no one else that I think I'm very confident subbing in James Conner, Trey Benson, and Amari DiMarco to go do that. So it's very dependent what they're looking for. I don't know what they're trying to do because obviously they want to run the football a lot. So that's why I think they're going to roster 4 running backs ultimately, just for insurance and the fact that everyone has different skill sets. But I'm really hoping they do roster Michael Carter over the way he runs the football and provides in the pass game.
No, I agree with that. Okay, last part of the offensive line. I'm sorry, last part of the offense, the offensive line. We got my guy Samuel here in the chat saying the O-lines being so bad, so worrying. So basically, the offensive line. What are your thoughts overall on how, I guess, the offensive line held up when Ritter was playing, Toon was playing? What are your thoughts on that?
Doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I'm concerned for the depth, not for our starting offensive line. Starting offensive line, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine on a lot of starting positions. So it's kind of hard to gauge what we're looking at right now and be concerned for anything because we haven't seen our ones go at it. Like, it's going to be a complete different unit. I am scared, though, for depth. Receiver depth, I'm scared. Offensive line depth, I'm even more terrified for. Because if one of these guys go down, I mean, we're already short at left guard. Evan Brown is starting, who I think deserves the spot. But if he goes down, Halei Froholt goes down, Will Hernandez goes down. I mean, either of our tackles go down. I don't think Paris will go down, but Jonah Williams, he goes down. I mean, we can move Kelvin Beachum, but then outside of tackle, I mean, it's scary. We have Kelvin Beachum for insurance, who I'm okay playing, but interior, I don't want to see an Isaiah Adams. I don't want to see a Christian Jones because I know he plays tackle, but they probably end up rotating him somewhere. I'm good. I don't want to see that. I'm scared, honestly, for offensive line depth, but hopefully it just doesn't get to that point because if they do sub in, there's a chance Kyler Murray takes a little too many sacks that we want, which could lead to injury, which we don't want. So it's a little concerning, but we just got to hope it doesn't get to that point.
That's what it is. Hoping that it doesn't get to the point that those guys are going to be in the rotation. I mean, right? Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But we're talking about two rookies that one we drafted in the third round. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how you felt on draft night when we ended up drafting Isaiah Adams, but wasn't Cooper Beebe still available on the clock? I got to do
available then, but I think he went third round to Dallas.
Third round. I got to fact check, but I know there was another guy that I
know Cardinals fans wanted him. I wanted him too. I know Cardinals fans wanted Cooper Beebe. I did too.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think they were just going. I don't know what they were doing. I really don't. But I trust him, so that's the thing.
Well, it's hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge, like how prospects going to be. Obviously, these sample size that we've seen seen Christian Jones, which I think he's got an opportunity to still be like a tackle of the future. He's got to progress to that level. He's not there yet, right? And I think we're all kind of feeling the same way of Isaiah Adams as well. But as of right now, with what we've seen in these two first preseason games, man, it's like a turnstile. It's just whoever's back there. It doesn't matter if it's Ritter. It doesn't matter if it's Toon. It's pretty bad. I don't know exactly how he needs to fix it, but something needs to happen there. Because I'm afraid that any quarterback will get hurt back there. Whoever is quarterbacking for the Arizona Cardinals with just how not good it's looked for the Cardinals in that position. So I'm going to fact check right now to see who was available. I know there was a guard that I really like. I'm not sure if it was Cooper Beebe or somebody else, but there was another guy that I wanted over him. I was actually shocked. He wasn't even on my board, but I'm like, okay, we'll trust money and we'll see exactly what happens. But you are concerned in terms of depth-wise goes. Let's flip it on its ear here, and let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. Why do you think the Arizona Cardinals have still yet to address the edge position? And are you concerned about that? Or are you okay with just kind of rolling with that?
Because we don't have like a veteran presence, but we also don't have someone who's established and can come in here and actually generate like 100% guaranteed pressure. It's a lot of unknowns. We have Dennis Gardick, who I'm fine as a rotational player. I'd like to see him as a backup just in case. Kind of somebody who comes off the edge freakishly and comes in here and gets you the 4, 5, 6 sack range. He had 6 last year. He's normally not that productive. Last year was just otherworldly. And then you have Victor Dimukeje, who, again, I'm cool with the backup. I don't know if they're going to slide Xavier Thomas up there or Cam Thomas or what they're expecting. Because I'm assuming they'll rock Gardick and Zaven Collins to start, which, I mean, not the worst thing in the world necessarily, but it doesn't sound appealing to me necessarily. Like, it's definitely cause for concern because I can't guarantee any pressure coming off either side. Zaven Collins isn't a pass rusher. You know what I mean? Zaven Collins excels in other things outside of pass rushing that he does well. He's good at setting edges. He's good at run support. He is not a pass rusher. And Dennis Gardick is a pass rusher, but it's very weird because of the scheme we're running. We have 2 outside linebackers who need to get pressure on the quarterback. Like, internally, I think we're going to have decent run defense, but we have nothing generated on the outside. So I don't know. I really don't know. Unless Zaven Collins comes out here and Dennis Gardick both just surprise everybody, I'm not a fan of what we're rocking with, but I understand it. There's not necessarily a better option or someone who can come in here right away and just become knowledgeable of the playbook in a week and a half, learn everything. You know what I mean? Like, you can sign like a Yannick Ngakoue, but does that really help? I don't know. I really don't know.
So I was able to look into the center. So in the draft night, Isaiah Adams was actually listed as a tackle. But there was 3 guards taken after him. Zach Zittner, which I had him. Christian Haynes was after. And then Cooper Beebe was also after him as well. So
He was
for what it's
after.
worth, they were on the board when the Cardinals did decide to go Isaiah Adams, but he's listed as a tackle. And then obviously a few picks later, Tip Ryman for the Arizona Cardinals as well. So it's going to be one of those things that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. Good thing is that we don't really need him right now. So we're going to have him sit in the shelf and hopefully progress and get to the level that we need to get him to. Because like I said before, it's not looking good right now for him. But let's continue to talk about the defense. I do agree with you in a sense when it comes down to the Arizona Cardinals and who they're walking with. Zaven, Dennis Gardeck seem to be the number one, number two guys for the Cardinals. Victor Dimukeje, we've seen a little bit of things here and there. Cam Thomas, thankfully for his 2-sack night, because I think that would – it kind of put me at ease a little bit, but not really. Like, Cameron Thomas really hasn't been able to translate to regular season to get that full production. Now, granted, he hasn't really given a full fair opportunity, so maybe this might be the year for him, but like I feel like it's just so much unknown. Like, we're rolling with Zaven Collins, which he came into the NFL as a middle linebacker, right? And that's how we had him. Shifted him over to the edge position. He did pretty decent, right? What was he say? Like 4 sacks, 4.5 sacks or something like that. So like he did decent, but like he's not a pass rushing guy per se, like a guy that's masterclass pass rush, right? And then we got Dennis Gardeck, which is special teams, but when he did get his opportunity and stayed healthy, he did pretty decent for us. But I feel like we're trying to throw things onto the wall and hopefully seeing if they stick. Like, we don't have a guy that's, okay, you are a pass rusher, that's what you did in college, that's what you excelled in. I feel like we're rolling with two guys completely out of position, and we're hoping for the best, crossing our fingers and say, get us as much sacks as you possibly can. Now, that can work. It can work. It's just, I'm not happy with that plan. I'm really not. I feel like the Cardinals right now are in a really good position that have $30+ million to spend. And I'm not sitting here and saying, get Hassan. I mean, although I think a lot of us would like Hassan Reddick, but like, I'm not sitting here to say that, but like, at least try to do something. Because the Cardinals are adding players. I'm not sure if you've been noticing, but the Cardinals are adding people. But just like random positions. It's like wide receiver, running back, this guy, that guy. It's like, they're acknowledging that there is some help that needs to be done in this roster, but they're not acknowledging the elephant in the room, and that's the edge position. I'm not going to sit here and ask you, are you questioning Monty or anything like that, but does that give you any pause in terms of concern why this front office isn't doing anything?
I'm not worried. I trust him. I'm going to sit back until further notice. I think he's playing the waiver wire right now because there's not really an option out there. I mean, you can go trade Hassan Reddick, but then you're going to have to forfeit up almost $30 million to get him to play football. And are we in a position right now where we need to do that? I don't think so. I think it sounds nice on paper. It's like the sexy pickup, but I'm not feeling it. I'm really not feeling it. That's like, I might be the outcast on that, but I'm not necessarily worried. I'm not a fan of what we're rocking with necessarily, but that doesn't mean you can change the situation.
Right.
Like BJ Ojulari was supposed to be that guy, and that's what you kind of banked on. And then one of your weakest positions got even weaker, losing your best pass rusher. So it's very unfortunate the situation he's in, so I don't blame him for sitting back. So I would just chill.
Okay. Do you think that's, I guess let me ask it this way. Do you think adding a pass rusher like Hassan, it doesn't have to be Hassan, but a premier pass rusher can win you 2 or 3 more games? Like a guy that's a game changer. Now, I'm not saying there's one out there available. I'm just saying, like, do you think that the pass rusher is that important that it can win you 2 or 3 games more in the season? And obviously, there's going to be games very, very close. And guess what I'm trying to get at is the fact that the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray and the offense seem to be kind of speaking 2 different languages. Kyler Murray's coming out here saying, I'm not putting any limitations on this offense. This offense is going to be rolling with the best. That's what Kyler Murray said. But then you got the front office sitting here and not really giving the weapons or giving the things to the defensive side of the ball to make everything function on both sides of the ball. So I'm kind of hearing 2 different sides of the story. I'm rolling with Kyler. He's my QB. I feel like we can go as far as he can take us. But the defense is also important too, and I feel like we're ignoring it.
I wouldn't say we're ignoring it because we have leveled up on almost everything, like taking a step back. Like it's tough because BJ Ojulari was supposed to be that guy. Like if he's playing, this is a complete different defense. I'm a lot more confident with generating pressure. I think we can all agree on that. But we got a starting corner, 2 starting defensive tackles, and Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols. And then we have Roy Lopez at nose tackle. Outside linebacker was always going to be Zayden. It was supposed to be BJ Ojolari, but unfortunately it's Gardick. Then he
Right.
drafted well in Max Melton. I think that was a good pickup, but I don't think he'll start. I think it's going to be Starling Thomas, and Max Melton might be able to take over. But no matter what, there's going to be struggle either way, here and there. I mean, there's going to be teams that have two elite receivers, and we're struggling to cover. I mean, that's just what it's going to boil down to. We don't have an elite shutdown like a Jalen Ramsey, a Pat Surtain. We don't have that. So we just have to chill. But I think we have leveled up. Our safeties have always been, in my opinion, a top 3 safety duo in the league when healthy.
Yep.
Buda Baker's coming back fully healthy. I think we're going to finally see him unlock, which is going to help this defense a ton because there's not many run support safeties in the league like Buda Baker, if we're being honest here. And he's gotten so much better in the pass game as well, defending the pass. Way better. I think we've leveled up. And then we also got Mac Wilson to pair alongside Kazir White. I think that's huge. I think that's huge for this defense because we really didn't have interior that you were just confident. Like we had Owen Popo, Chris Barnes, but those are like backup guys. You're cool to hop in for rotation, certain packages. You don't want them every down Mike linebackers. You just don't want that. But now we have 2 guys I'm confident in the middle. It just sucks losing BJ Ojolari, but I don't fault Monty Austin for not making a move. I really don't. I don't think he's in a position to. I think you just chill with what you have because we don't have a ton of money this year, if I'm not mistaken. We have a ton of money next year. If I'm not mistaken. But
we got, I mean, I guess it just depends on how much ton of money you think, like what's a ton of money, I guess that question is. Because I mean, we got $30+ million in cap, technically. Now that doesn't mean that Michael Biggles got 30. I'm sorry, one more time?
We have $30 million this year?
Yeah, left over. Yeah, we have even after the Zaven Collins extension, I believe last time I looked at over the cap in Spot Track, obviously the third party, so there might be a little bit of a discrepancy, but 32 million is kind of where they're floating. One of them says 30, one of them says 32. So I'm kind of rolling around that area. But the defense is like the least funded. Like it's probably one of the least funded defenses in the whole entire NFL. So I agree that we upgraded from last year, but last year was, really bad. So like we moved the needle, but it's like if you're putting it up here in compared to other defenses, it's still a big unknown, right? I'm not going to say bad because I don't know what they're going to look like, but it's still a really, really big unknown. But I think that the Arizona Cardinals can win a game or two if we had a premier pass rusher. I truly do. So like if the Cardinals are a 7-8 win team, we could probably be an 8-9 win team with the pass rusher. So that's where my mind goes. And right now, seeing like those third parties saying that we have 30 mil, like I don't know. I just feel like we're taking the easy route. I feel like we're not addressing what's so important, and we're going to be talking about this midway in the season, saying if we had a pass rusher, we wouldn't be in this situation. I just feel like we're going to be talking about this.
I think Monty Ossenfort's kind of looking at this at like a long-term thing, because if I'm not mistaken, James Conner's a free agent next year.
Yep, true.
If I'm not mistaken, Buda Baker's a free agent next year. So although we have $30 million, we're going to have to allocate this next year in extensions. So we're going to be able to free up a lot of money because a lot of people are expiring.
True.
So I think he's looking towards the draft. I think edge was always going to be something we're going to look into, but I think it's a long-term game. We have a lot of guys that we're going to have to retain. I don't know if Greg Dortch is a free agent. He might be, if I'm not mistaken.
Question.
So like we have a lot of guys that could have career years. Like Buda Baker can come out here and just dominate. And then it's like, okay, do we rock Taylor Demerson? Is he our long-term guy? Do we want to pay Buda the money he's going to want? He's going to want top safety money. Are we willing to give him a $16, $17 million plus contract? Is it time to pay James Conner, who's going to be 31 next year? And running backs typically decline after that. So we got Trey Benson, like a lot of young guys in the back end. It kind of looks like we're drafting for replacements. But at the same time, you never know, because Trey Benson can come in here next year and take the whole workload. And we might just go super young and then go spend. And then we'll have $100+ million because we freed up so much in expiring contracts. And then if Greg Dortch is that guy and proves to be that guy, which I think he is really good, and I think he's going to have a career year, re-sign him. Buda Baker's the tough one, but I don't know if James Conner is going to be back next year, unfortunately. He's going to be 31 years old, and that's just what it is. So I think he's looking long-term here to potentially draft an edge, sign an edge. Zaven Collins will always be nice depth to have. I don't think he's hesitating if you can upgrade. But right now, you just got to level it up, make this team competitive, and keep building in the right direction and show, hey, we're trending towards the right direction. We have our franchise quarterback. We have our main building block. We have all these young pieces now with Marvin Harrison and Trey Benson. Like, these are the guys we're building with. We have Michael Wilson, who might have a career year. Greg Dortch, who might have a career year. Trey McBride. Like, the offense is super young. Take James Conner out of this offense is super young. Super young with Trey Benson. And then you just elevate everybody. And you got Paris Johnson, cornerstone left tackle. And then defensively, you got to keep building. But we have pieces. You just got to keep hoping people keep trending in the right direction. But I think it's going to be a multiple year thing. And 2025 is where the money's going to get spent. I think that's where
2025
the big dollars go.
So we better hope that Kyler can win a lot of games.
It's going to be offensive. It's going to be a lot of offense having to score 28, 25 plus.
Well, the reason why I say that is because if he doesn't, then we're talking about something else next year.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think
Really?
that'll be a concern. Unless Kyler just stinks it up, which we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen Kyler Murray have like a Daniel Jones kind of year where it's like a legit red flag. Like people always have the red flags just because of the narratives and everything that are built around Kyler. And then if you check the stats and compare it with anybody else, you're like, okay, that's a pretty good year. It might not be a 30 touchdown, 4,000 yard season, but I mean, he runs the ball way more than anybody else. So he allocates touchdowns there. You'll get 6, 7 rushing touchdowns, 19, 20, 21 passing touchdowns. So it's like 30 combined. So he has good seasons. It's just people overlook him a ton. And we're also pretty garbage talent-wise ever since Kyler's been here. Like, I think we've had 2 seasons where we've had legit chances to be good. And it was like 2020, I believe, and then 2021. In 2020 when we missed like 3 field goals to win games, if you remember that, or we had like Pat P, Larry, David Johnson, I believe wasn't on the team. It was D-Hop, and then Kyler. Like, we had like a crazy roster. And we just couldn't get it done. We had like 8 wins or something. I think those are the only 2 seasons that were like super competitive. But outside of that, the teams have been rough.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. I know when you're in that sitting, and I'm saying the Cardinals are going to sit first overall. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I feel like we're going to be better than that. But I do think that this year is very, very important. And we're going to be closing up shop here pretty soon. We went a little over, and I apologize for everybody.
You're good.
But yeah, we're going to be closing up shop. But I feel like this is a very important year for Kyler Murray. A very, very important year. He needs to show that he can actually win games. And that's what makes me feared, that because we're not adding these pieces, the 1 or 2 games that are not going to be win can be a big deciding factor. But I think obviously that's definitely something that we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the season for the Arizona Cardinals. But we're going to be closing up shop. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. If you guys haven't smacked the like button, do me a huge favor, smack it up, do it for the algorithm. If you guys haven't checked out Mythic AZ's channel, he's on the road to 7K still, right? You haven't hit it yet?
7K still. I think we're at 6,400 something right now.
Okay, that's only 600 away. All right, go ahead and subscribe over to Mythic AZ's channel. He puts out content for the Arizona Cardinals every day, and he's been doing it for a very, very long time. So appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. We're going to be closing up shop. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Cards.